Before we even discuss the most basic things like how to move around in Blender, there are two really important topics we need to cover. So the first one is setting up this assets library. So what this is down here is actually just a location on your computer. So when you first install the Sensei Format add-on, this location is bare. So it's just basically the first base folder on whatever hard drive your computer is using, which is usually the C drive. So it's just a bunch of random stuff on your C drive. The point of this is to create your own personal library folder, and then we'll tell Blender to point to that folder so that every time we start up Blender, we'll have immediate access to whatever items we keep inside of that folder. And so usually that's like another folder for models, maybe a folder for textures, a folder for test files, and what have you. And so once we do that, you will then have super quick access to the stuff you need most regularly. So to show you how this works, I'm going to show you where the actual location of my Blender library folder is on my computer. So I'm going to navigate to that, and here it is. Here's my library folder here. And so this is actually a physical location on my computer where I keep folders that are full of like Blender files and models or .obj files that you can download off websites, textures, projects, and stuff like that. So once you get this set up, you can create whatever folders or collections that you want and always have immediate access to them. So if you're new to Blender and 3D modeling and stuff, you may not have, too many ideas about stuff you want to keep in this library yet, but don't worry about that. You will definitely figure out stuff that you want to have access to as you continue to learn and grow with the program. Okay, so to point Blender to that location, what I'm going to do is come down here and I'm going to drag my mouse over this area where the folders are, and I'm going to press the tilde key on my keyboard. That's the little squiggly line key just above the tab key on the keyboard. So we'll press that, and I'm going to click this little plus tab here, which displays the file browser, and that is located on my J drive in this folder here under this resources folder, Blender, and library. Okay, so now I've made it to the location where I have all this stuff. So now what I'm going to do is drag this shut and click and drag this up, and then I'm going to press tilde key again. So now I have Blender pointing to the library location on my computer. So to make sure that this shows up this way every time I start up Blender, I'm going to go to File, Save Startup File, and then click this Save Startup File under where it says OK. So now if I close this out and I open Blender back up, this will be pointing to my library folder. A bit later in the series, we're going to be devoting an entire video tutorial to talking about this assets library and this button here, which allows you to expand whatever folder you happen to be in. As you can see, there's all those folders there, and also link, append, and import files directly into Blender. But for now, one thing I recommend you do in your library location is, if we press the tilde key again to expand this and press this plus tab to expand this menu here, is to go ahead and create a new folder and call this crash course or tutorials or whatever. And this way you have a nice folder to keep all of your tutorial files for the series so you can access them whenever you want. So for instance, if I click on this models folder where I have a bunch of .blend files saved here, if I click directly on the icon next to each one of these files, I can actually just click and drag it out right into the 3D view here to open up that file. But if I click this button, then I can see an actual image of each of the files as well to make it easier to decide which file I want to bring out and work on. Also, if instead of opening a new file, I just want to append that file to the currently open file, all I would do is decide where I want a thing to go by right-clicking and moving my 3D cursor here, and then selecting that item and then pressing append. And then instead of just opening that file up, it adds whatever's in that file to your current scene. And so in this way, if you just make a bunch of files where you keep just one object or just the things you want, you can very simply use this system as an assets library. So I could click on this beer bottle and press append and bring it into the scene as well. And so if I was done here, I could just close that up. Okay, so if we want to get back to our main library folder, all we have to do is click this up arrow over here, which will take us to the parent directory of whatever directory that is folder that you're in. So it'll take you into the above folder. And so now we're back at the main library folder here. So I know it's a little annoying not being able to immediately dive into the thick of the course, but setting up this library early on is going to give you a massive advantage in terms of being able to access all your files and making the work that you complete reusable, which is really the whole point of Sensei Format, to combine ease of use with reusability. So stay tuned for the next video where we will discuss the second topic mentioned at the beginning of this video, another sort of housekeeping thing that we need to get out of the way early on so we can ensure we'll have good success down the road, and that is how to keep Blender and Sensei Format up to date without losing all of our settings and changes and things we've tweaked to our Blender along the way. So thanks for watching and see you in the next tutorial.